I could see the gears turning in her head. She was like, oh, this is going to be a sexual assault lawsuit, isn't it? But if you were forced to go to the hospital, you're not leaving until they decide you get to leave. The worst thing, though, about the hospital, I think, is it's just boring. Hello, and welcome to another video. There was a video before this one, and there will be another video after it. So, I just got out of the hospital. I went to a psychiatric hospital because of my issue with my car. These things are so hard to take off. There we go. Yeah, I wanted to save a little bit of money, and I was kind of also on the verge of a nervous breakdown. So, I went to the hospital, and I was there for a week, and I just got out today. So I want to talk about it because this was not my first hospitalization. It's not by far my first rodeo, so to speak. I've been to all three of the local hospitals in this area, at least twice each, and I think this was my third one in this particular hospital, which makes 7. And I was also hospitalized once in Texas before. So I've been around the block a few times. There's a lot of videos out there about what it's like being in the hospital. I think the one by Illumation, I think it is like really popular. A lot of people talking about it when it came out. There's no cigarettes or drugs or anything allowed in the hospital, obviously. And they do offer like nicotine patches and lozenges and gum and stuff, but I don't take any of that stuff. I use the hospital as an opportunity to get sober. Not like get sober, but, you know, like a tolerance break. I have the willpower to quit stuff cold turkey as long as it's not physiologically damaging. I don't really have a problem with that. So let's talk about what it's like to go to the hospital. So first contact, usually you go to the ER. Now typically there's 2 ways to get into the hospital. Either you admit yourself, which is called a voluntary hospitalization, or in this area is called a 201, because the form that you sign is called a 201 form, or a 302, which is involuntary, and this is when you get taken to the hospital forcibly because you are a danger to yourself or others because of some mental issue. So this is what would happen if you have a manic episode and you end up like assaulting somebody or something like that. Or if you're schizophrenic and you are like endangering yourself somehow walking into traffic, stuff like that, then you would be, somebody would most likely call the police. The police would come and most likely realize that this is a mental health case, and they would call an ambulance and get you strapped down to a gurney, and then you go to the first place that has a bed open. Or if there's no beds open in the local hospitals, then you go to the ER until a bed opens. And most ERs do have like a psych ward, or at least a couple rooms set aside for psychiatric patients that are different from regular hospital rooms. So there's not going to be like hospital equipment in your room. You'll hear it like beeping in the hallways and stuff, but it's not going to be in your room. They're not going to hook you up to an EKG and monitor your vitals and all of that, unless you say that you have some kind of health issue. But you just go, you wait in the bed, and you sleep, and they'll feed you until a bed opens up in the actual psychiatric facility, which is going to be down the road somewhere. So once a bed is open and available for you, they'll take you by ambulance, usually to the location, to the hospital. And this is going to be a separate whole building, all on its own somewhere. It's a separate business. It's a separate type of hospital. It's not your typical medical hospital. Typically, it's going to be gated and lots of security. So it's kind of a prison-like atmosphere. Here's the good things. You get free food. You get free group therapy. You get a free bed. You get a free shower. They might not be good quality, but they are free as long as you have insurance to cover it. I can run my car a little bit, but I need to keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't overheat. I'm trying to get a little bit of AC because it's really hot today. So during the intake, they'll get your vital signs. They're gonna have you do a kind of a strip search. You get to keep your underwear on, but they do want to check to make sure that you don't leave the place with any more scars or tattoos or anything that you didn't come in with. So they make a note of all of your scars and tattoos. And when you get discharged, sometimes if they have a suspicion or a reason to believe that you got a tattoo or a new scar or something, they'll do another body search, and they call it a body check. But it's not really a strip search, because they're not really looking for contraband. They're really just looking to make sure that you don't have anything. But I do have a story. Let me see. How do I tell this story? I mean, if they find anything that could be considered contraband on your person during the initial body check, during the intake, they will take it, right? You can't come in with like a weed pen or a pack of cigarettes or a knife or anything like that. They will take those things. But they're not going to search under your underwear or anything. However, there was one time when I went to the hospital and I was wearing a prosthetic for trans men. If you don't know, trans men who don't have penises, they have prosthetics available to give the feeling of having a package, basically. They don't serve any sexual purpose. That's what strap-ons are for. But they're soft little package that you can wear in your underwear. It just makes it feel like you have something there. And I was wearing one of these. Again, very small. Not mad, just looked very natural. No reason to suspect anything was weird about what was going on in my pants. But they did the body check, and they could see a little bit of the tape that I used, like body safe tape called KT tape. If you're an athlete, you may know what that is. It's like for muscle injuries and stuff, so you can still work but hold a muscle in a particular place. So, or for your joints and stuff. It's called KT tape or like athletic tape or something like that. But I would use it to hold my prosthetic in place. And as they were doing the body check, it was two female nurses, or two female staff members. Sorry, I gotta keep adjusting my windows and everything because how my car is, it can't run for too long. Oh, now I gotta tell this story out loud with my windows open. But anyway, during the body check, they saw a little bit of the tape peeking over the elastic of my underwear, and they were like, "What is that? Is that a Band-Aid?" Because again, they're looking for scars and injuries and things like that. I explained to them, no, it's athletic tape. It's holding my prosthetic in place. They were like, "What prosthetic?" And I said, "I have a prosthetic phallus." And they were like, I don't think they understood what I meant when I said that, because they were like, "Can you just pull the underwear down a little bit just so that we can check and make sure you don't have anything taped to your body?" I was like, I do have something taped to my body. It's a penis. And they still didn't understand. They were like, I was like, "Okay, if you're sure you want me to pull it down." So I pulled it down, and they were like, "Just a little more so we can see the whole thing." I was like, I really don't think you understand what you're asking to see here, but okay. So I just pulled it all the way down and just flashed these two women, and immediately one of them leaned in and then leaned back and gasped and like covered her mouth, and the other one I could see the gears turning in her head. She was like, "Oh, this is going to be a sexual assault lawsuit, isn't it? Oh my God, we're about to get sued over this." They were like, okay, that's enough. Pull your pants back up." So that's something that happened to me one time. No, I did not sue them. I thought it was really funny. I wasn't offended or anything. I just thought it was hilarious. So that's the body check. They'll do that during intake. And sometimes they'll do another body check during discharge too, if they have reason to believe that you are hiding an injury or something. So the good things, like I said, it's free food, free bed, free shower, all of that stuff. That's why I'm so clean right now, and I got some new clothes. This is an oversized shirt though. And the pants they gave me don't have any pockets, but it is what it is. Some free clothes. Not all the hospitals are going to have free stuff for you to take with you. I went to one of the better ones, and I specifically requested the better one because I knew it was better, because I've been to all of the local hospitals multiple times. So let's talk about what the staff is like. So obviously there's nurses, registered nurses. There's obviously also therapists that run the group therapy. There's psychiatrists that will help you with your medication and prescribing things. If you need a social worker, there will be a social worker, and typically they can refer you to another organization before you are discharged that can get you hooked up with another organization that'll give you a social worker. And there's somebody to handle the insurance if you need somebody to help you out with the insurance and getting everything approved and paid for. Otherwise, it's very expensive. It's like the one time I didn't have insurance to pay for it, it was like $800 per week or something like that, so pretty expensive. They might have a peer support specialist too, which is just a regular person that has been through hospitalizations and been through mental breakdowns and things like that before as well, and they'll run a sort of group therapy. And then there's also BHAs, Behavioral Health Associates. And these are just your sort of like grunt workers that are on the ground doing a lot of paperwork and recording things and making sure they know where every patient is at any given time, recording what your mood is for the day and all that stuff. You're mainly going to be interacting with the BHAs. They're the ones that you're going to go to for like when you want to take a shower. They will make a hygiene bin for you where they put a little bit of soap and a little bit of shampoo and a little hairbrush and everything in a little bin, and then you take that to your room, to your bathroom, you take a shower, and then when you're done you have to give all that stuff back to them because you can't just keep it with you for whatever reason. I don't know, they think you're going to drink the soap and try to kill yourself with it, whatever. And then the nurses also, you're going to interact with them for your medication. So here's what I don't like about hospitals. First of all, the atmosphere is very prison-like. They try to make it inviting, but that makes it almost even more insidious because, like, that you're trapped in this place, and the attempts to calm you and sedate you are almost like threatening because, like, you're trapped in this place. You can't leave. You can't just leave without permission. You can leave within 72 hours of signing a 72-hour release form if you entered the hospital voluntarily. But if you were forced to go to the hospital, you're not leaving until they decide you get to leave. And that contributes to this sort of oppressive, like prison-like atmosphere. There's also a very controlled schedule. Like, you only get maybe an hour and 30 minutes spread out through the day between the groups and everything to take a shower, for example, or to just relax in your room. When you're not in your room and they're doing a group therapy or some kind of event or something that's been scheduled, they lock all of the doors and they don't let anybody into their bedrooms, even if you have something in there, like unless you have something in there you need, like a pen or something. They would prefer to just give you an extra one than to let you into your room to grab one from your room. They don't let people in their rooms when there's group therapies going on, even if you're not attending, even if it has nothing to do with you. Like, maybe you've never been addicted to drugs in your life, you've never touched drugs in your life, and the event they're doing today is like an Alcoholics Anonymous thing, and you don't want to be a part of it, you don't have anything to learn from it, you don't have anybody in your life that drinks, and you're just not interested in it whatsoever, they still will not let you in your room just to sit on your bed and relax. You've got to go and participate or go to one of the other common areas and sit and wait. So very controlled schedule. They wouldn't even let you shower. So when you want to, you only get to shower during the prescribed times. So for some people that can be really nice to have that controlled schedule and have sort of the day planned out and know exactly what's going to happen at any given time. But for other people, particularly people that have maybe a pervasive drive for autonomy, it can be really frustrating and just prison-like, right? They'd be doing 15-minute checks. Every 15 minutes, a BHA goes around and makes a check and a notice of where every single patient in that unit is. So if you're in your room, they put a little check that you're in your room. If you're in one of the common areas, they just mark down where you are every 15 minutes. So they have a log of your movements, basically. There's also going to be, there's loudness going on. There's also going to be, other people there that are potentially crazier than you are, or that are in a more desperate mental state. People that are seeing things and hearing things and, talking to themselves, and people might start screaming and crying and hitting things and even attacking the staff or attacking other patients. That doesn't happen very often, but it does happen, and they typically will have a special unit specifically for aggressive people. So don't get yourself on the aggressive people unit and you'll probably be fine, but still you're going to be surrounded by people that are in a bad mood and that are talking about their woes and that are crying and that get frustrated with the staff and with the other patients and everything. So just, you're going to be in an environment where everybody's crazy, basically. And some of the staff are not so kind. I mean, they say with nurses, a lot of nurses were mean girls in high school, and they only became nurses so they could continue to be mean girls and have power over people. And that is true in the psychiatric hospitals as well. There are going to be BHAs and nurses. Typically the therapists and the psychiatrists and everything, they're fine, typically, as long as you don't specifically piss them off or something like that. You don't interact with the psychiatrists or the social workers or the therapists constantly like you do with the BHAs. The BHAs you're going to be seeing all the time. And if you find that one of them is unkind to you, then you're going to be stuck with them. You can make a complaint, and there will be like a patient advocate number that you can call and make a complaint or make a request or something like that. And like if you don't like the nurse or the BHA that's been assigned to you for that night or for that day, then you can request another one and they'll see what they can do. But oftentimes it's not really viable to just accommodate you trying to avoid a specific staff member if you don't like them or if they don't like you for whatever reason. So if one of them is unkind to you, you're going to be dealing with that. Maybe even covert abuse could happen, and that's happened to me as well. But again, that's not super common. It doesn't happen all the time. Most of the BHAs and most of the nurses are very nice people that work at these hospitals, not because they pay well, but because they actually care about the work, which is good to know. There are systemic issues with the ways that these hospitals are run and the ways that, like the methods that they use, but ultimately, generally speaking, the staff are good people. And you just might find a few bad apples here and there, and when you do find them, you're stuck with them, which really sucks. The worst thing, though, about the hospital, I think, is it's just boring. It's just really boring. There's not really much to do, especially when you get locked out of your room. If napping is how you cope with boredom, you're not going to be able to nap. You might be able to nap in one of the chairs in the common area or something. But, they really try to make sure that you're not sleeping throughout the day. So you got to find something to do. If you're not interested in the groups, there will be, maybe 2 or 3 hours during the day where there's not really anything particular to do. Some of that time will be like scheduled for hygiene, so you can take a shower to pass the time or something. But ultimately, most of the time, if there's free time, you're going to be bored. You can talk to the other patients, you can even talk to the staff, as long as they're not doing their jobs or whatever. Like, you can socialize. And there's also things like crossword puzzles and word searches and Sudoku. They'll print those out for you, or they might even have books of them. There's going to be coloring pages, and in the common area there will be markers and crayons and stuff for that. They do usually have a small library of books that have been donated, so they're not going to be very good books. They're not going to be very popular books. A lot of them are boring books, or just like cheesy romances. Maybe that's your thing. The one time I found a good book in the hospital, I found Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. And that's where I read Jurassic Park, the one and only time I've ever actually read the original book, and I loved it. It passed the time amazingly. But that was an amazing find. Very rare to find a good book to read in the hospital. But if it's all you have to do, it's all you have to do. Otherwise, it's just very boring. There's just really, really not much to do. You can walk around, you can talk to people, you can do coloring pages and little puzzles and stuff, but maybe play some board games. But ultimately, it's just a boring place to be. They don't allow you to have your phone or access to the internet. They also restrict phone calls to 15 minutes typically, unless nobody else needs the phone. But if there's a line for the phone, you're only going to get 10 to 15 minutes to talk to whoever's on the other line. And phone times are also restricted to particular hours of the day. So what are the group therapies like? The group therapies are, if you've ever been to group therapy, it's very similar to group therapy the way it's done all the time. You get a therapist to come in, they typically will hand out some kind of worksheet. It's going to be some kind of CBT or DBT program, which is cognitive behavioral therapy or dialectical behavioral therapy. Typically going to be one of those. Any kind of one-on-one style of therapy like EMDR, they're not going to really have that in the hospital. It's going to be group oriented, so it's going to be things that somebody can stand up at a whiteboard and write down a few keywords, like, okay, everybody, let's say some things that trigger us. What triggers you? Loud noises. Okay, we'll write down loud noises. Okay, and then once they write down like 10 or 15 things, then they'll say, okay, so what are some coping mechanisms? Let's write down some coping mechanisms. Okay, what helps you cope? Listening to music. Okay, walking, that helps you. That's your coping mechanism. That's great. And that's what it's like. that's the CBT and DBT. Sometimes they'll teach specific methods, like everybody knows the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method, where 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, etc. And so they'll go over like the basics and stuff like that too. But like in general, it's just CBT, DBT bullshit. You can find the worksheets online and do it at home if you wanted to. Honestly, I've been to therapy for years and years, and I've been to a lot of different group therapies, and it's all the same to me at this point. I have all of the coping mechanisms that I need. I've learned everything I could possibly learn from therapy. So the group therapies are also generally just boring for me, but participation is marked, and you do have to meet certain metrics, especially if you were involuntarily committed. You do have to meet certain metrics in order to get out. So if you're trying to get out of the hospital, you've got to go to the group therapies. There is also, however, the art and music therapies, which are sometimes separate and sometimes they go together. And the art and music therapists, they're therapists that also, they're trained therapists that also do art or music, and they'll bring in like a cart with instruments on it, and then they'll have everybody play music together, or they'll just sort of talk about some therapy concepts while listening to music requests by the patients or something like that. With art therapy, it's often you draw something based on a theme, like you do mandalas. Hold on a second. Some show and tell. Mandalas was the theme today, and what she did was she just brought in some actually no, this was yesterday. She just brought in some paper and some printed mandalas that we could color in, and some markers and glue pens and stuff, and said, okay, mandalas are supposed to represent centeredness and harmony, and just draw your mandala, and then when everybody's done, we'll show our work and say what it means to you, and that's the therapy, right? So if you're looking for something really like in-depth and specialized and personalized to you, you're not going to find that in the hospital. That's not going to happen. Instead, you're going to be drawing mandalas, or drawing what your safe space is, or what comes to mind when you think of warmth or something like that. Just real, honestly, it's kind of bullshit. It's something to pass the time, though, and some people really do get some kind of benefit out of expressing themselves. There's also going to be outdoor time where you get to go to like the courtyard, walk around in circles, or bounce a basketball, shoot some hoops or whatever, maybe play cornhole, go to the gym, same thing. So that's what it's like. And then once you're ready to get discharged, you get discharged. They will basically give you your stuff and have you check it to make sure that they didn't forget anything, and that all of your stuff is there. And then they'll call an Uber for you if you don't have a ride back to your place of residence or wherever you need to go. And that's how it goes. So that's the hospital. That's what my last 7 days of my life were like. They gave me prescriptions that I'm not gonna take, because I kept telling them I don't take medicine, because I've taken medicine before and it never worked for me. And of course they prescribed me 2 medications that I've already taken before that didn't work for me. And so you don't have to fill the prescriptions. They also recommend, or sometimes even straight up make appointments for you to go to therapists outpatient and to see a psychiatrist outpatient. So they'll do that sometimes. They didn't do that for me, they just made recommendations. And they referred me to a case manager, or a case management company that's supposedly going to contact me within the next week to get me assigned to a case manager that might be able to help me get on disability. And that's what I kept saying while I was in there, is that I'm just poor and disabled. I don't need therapy. I don't need medication. I need money. So I need to get on disability. but I've been denied 3 times and no other case managers have been able to help me, and you know, I don't know what to do, so I just kind of gave up on that. But if you guys want to give me another case manager, we'll try it again, right? So that's what I kept saying, and that's what they did for me. So they really do genuinely try to work with what your goals are, but they will also, because it is a psychiatric facility, they're going to be trying to push pills on you. They're going to be telling you to go to outpatient therapy and stuff like that. Maybe you really need that stuff. Maybe you will benefit from that stuff. But if you don't, then that's just kind of an annoying thing that you have to keep turning down every time they bring it up. But unfortunately, it is their job to try to push that stuff on you. So yeah, that's what the hospital is like. I got through a week of that. Once again, I hate doing it. I don't like going to the hospital for multiple reasons, not least of which is that it's boring, and I don't really get anything out of it except for just saving money and having all that free stuff for a little while. But it's rarely worth it for me. However, if you feel like you need to go to the hospital, if you feel like that's sounds appealing to you, like, go for it. I don't judge people for doing that kind of thing, no matter what your reasons are. So yeah, like the video if you liked it. Comment down below. Have you ever been hospitalized like this? Was it voluntary? Was it involuntary? How was it? Did you get any benefit out of it? How many times have you been? You know, what kind of crazy stories do you have? Or if you've never been to the hospital, comment if you think it would be a good idea, or if you think this sounds like a nice experience. Like the video if you liked it. Please sub for more like this. And thank you so much for watching, and have a peaceful day.